All right. All right. Go ahead, Oscar.
So I was listening to the podcast today, and then they were talking to Duke Klossum. Has that how you pronounce his last name? And it's interesting to me to hear how things used to be and how they are now, and then also, how people expect to get into every single show, and they only want to do the top 10 shows or top 20 shows, and he's going like a so you do just two of those, you'll be fine. So you have to just apply it and hope that you can hit one of the two and just keep dropping the shows that doesn't work for you.
Well, that's
But
what that's
But,
what Barry says every week.
yeah,
but did you hear him say that when he started doing more local shows, the bottom line was better for him? He actually
yeah,
made more money doing a local, like a 1 day show, sleep in his own bed. Bottom
mm,
line was he made more money than at the big fancy shows.
yeah. That's another thing that was interesting to listen, because I always get focused on doing the bigger shows because I've been stuck in my head that those are the shows that you got a better option. But the same token, I live in Chicago, and even I can do a show every day starting in May. I don't think that there's that many shows that are going to make enough money to make up the ground. But when I go out of town, I'm trying to do like a set of shows in a row, so it doesn't hurt so much. And I
Well,
still sleep in the van a lot. Don't get me wrong. So
I used to be extremely good about doing a spreadsheet of the entire year with
I do that.
sales, expenses, how many days out of the studio, all of that. And it's still, I just found it, so it makes it even more fun. It still amazes me at what shows were my top shows. To find out that my little local hometown show on a per day was, it was a 1 day show, but was one of my top shows of the entire year, because my expenses were, $130 booth fee, and I slept in my own bed, and I sold $5,000. It just,
That'll do it. That'll do it.
and yet I could go to some big snazzy show. Well, I could do Ann Arbor and have a really good show, but you have to divide it for those. At that time it was 4 days, and then it was 2 more days on top of that. You start dividing that out, and the expenses and the yada yada yada, and I had to have help, and makes a big difference.
I know. It's just interesting to. That's what I like the podcast, because you listen to things and make you think about it, things that you do and changing. And for me, it's like I just doing this on my own. I don't have nobody, other than talking to you guys now. I don't have nobody telling me what to do, not to do, guidance, and sometimes, listen, I talked to William this weekend. He wasn't one of the kind, and I told him I appreciate what they do, because listen to the podcast is the beginning. Teach me some of the problems that I have. A lot of people have it, and I was not aware, because when you go to the field, people doesn't tell you. They only paint pretty picture, pretty flowers. It's the way to say it. They don't tell you the bad things or the dirty grinding. They only tell you, and for some point they tell you that if you're doing bad, it's because you are the wrong. You're not doing the right things, but nobody's telling you that they're going through the same thing. But it's kind of normal to go through this up and downs, But You know.
Well, you have to get over your ego needing the top shows.
Mm.
If you're doing this
Yes.
to make a living, you need to take a step back, get your ego out of it, and do the shows where you personally will make money. Yeah.
And that's what I go well. Like I thought I don't got the luxury of getting to all the big shows. I do apply to them, but even Douglas told me that you apply to those shows you get in, you do those shows you get in, and do the best you can, and keep winning other shows. That because some of those big shows, what I call big shows, are really good shows. You know, I was talking to David Mayhem, and he asked me how the Oklahoma show went, and I told him, I was surprised I made $7,000, and I thought it was okay. And he said, "That's really good, actually, Oscar, to make $7,000 in Oklahoma, in Omaha. I mean,
Really? I don't know.
and
Barry would say I'm totally out of touch, but I never did under 11,000 there.
Well,
So-
I remember when I got into Des Moines, I thought, whoa, okay, this is going to be the big bucks. And I don't remember what I sold, but it's like, what am I, what am I doing here? Never.
Well, in reality, though, I personally think it's not one show; it's the career, and I mean, I find that I could, like, Old Town was not great this year for me, but then when I got back, this conversation back and forth with a customer, I ended up selling a bracelet, which is huge. So to me, it's really the culmination of a career, and obviously one has to make money. But with that in mind, a show that's kind of lousy can be nurtured, with the mailing list and keeping it. And even if you don't get in every single year, somebody signed your mailing list because they're interested in your work. And so that's how I see it, as the expense. And I have to remind myself of that, by the way, because one wants to be rewarded with, big bucks after, spending 3 days laboring over a show, and it's hard work.
Well, it's
yeah,
hard.
the whole company.
I
Sorry.
agree with that, except when there's been no interest.
I agree. Yeah.
Then
Right.
And I think
mean,
mine was an under $4,000, no interest.
Right. So I just did open studios in Berkeley, and I forgot how, like, people were such a bummer. I mean, I meet people here at the artist market, and they might say, "Oh, your work is out of my price range," and I always say, "I'm happy to show you anyway," and they could still be lovely, but I don't wear earrings anymore. I don't wear jewelry, or like, it was like conversation dead ends, and it just kind of makes you feel like shit. And I just have to remind myself, though, that it's I mean, I was meeting somebody there anyway who had an appointment, and I thought, well, I should have just met her privately and not done a whole thing. I made a couple of other little sales, but was it really worth my time? And so yes, what you're saying, Bonnie, is true. If people are not engaging and they're not interested, then there's that too. Or if there's no people at all. I mean, I did a show once, and I wanted it to be adequate. It was near home, great setting, easy, all that, but it was like, there were no people there, so you can't even do business if there's
That's
no one. Yeah, it's boring. It gets really boring.
Nobody show up. In fact, there's a show that probably has my face on a dartboard that they throw darts at because I was really pissed. A long time ago.
Yeah.
Did you deserve it?
No, nobody showed up at the show. Oh, I deserve it? I don't. Hey, that's
That's subjective.
it's not my. No, I don't care. It's like, and when I hear you say that when somebody tells you, they don't buy jewelry anymore, it makes you feel bad. Nobody can say anything that'll make me feel bad. I just say, oh, they're idiots or whatever,
Yeah, but everyone, like, the point is they come in and they're looking, they could say nothing, right? I mean, they could,
Yeah.
just be cordial. And I've talked to plenty of people who can't afford my work or it's not for them, who are nice. So it's more than that. It's just, it's this particular sort of thing there, in Berkeley that I remember from last year too, as a reminder of, next time I go there to teach or something, I could just make appointments with people if they want that, but I don't need to do an event and spend a whole day, 2 days, whatever. I mean, it was inexpensive to do, but it's, the tech world has really kind of changed it there. So, but anyway, in other news, have you all heard about Lakefront?
Yes. Came back from the dead.
Right. Well, they say the email was a little confusing, but they said they're looking into but some of it was specific and they gave dates and they're honoring those of us who were actually accepted into the show, which is really, really, really exciting. So on the heels of a rejection, it was a nice positive.
Nice to see you again, Bonnie.
Thank you. Nice.
It's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Karen, are you getting a knee replacement this week?
No, I am recovering from COVID, unfortunately, which has delayed my hip replacement. It's very unfortunate. It's just a reminder that I thought I had this COVID thing, covered, but it came in my front door.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't always need to know this, but I do have some background issues that make it a little harder, but I'm going to be okay. Getting through it.
So you basically have to tell anyone that's coming over that you have to ask them how their health is, or
Oh, actually, we sat down and tested.
Or they automatically wear a mask.
Well, we did all that, and as careful as we were, and we were careful, the virus still got us, and so that's the lesson for me.
Well, you tested when they first came in, is that what you mean?
Yes, yeah, had everybody sit down, we all tested. It was like, oh, this is a game changer here, so this is what we had to do. Then a second person came down with it, and that left two of us standing, and we kind of tried hard to work through it. It changed a lot of family plans, of course, but more importantly, I'm recovering. So I did take Paxlovid.
Good.
Yeah, and we'll see. But having the surgery delayed is a game changer for my year. It's going to really set me back, and I'm going to have to figure out what I'm really supposed to be doing this year. So obviously doing shows in the spring is going to be, I won't be ready. I physically won't be ready. So I'll focus on something else. Right, Bonnie?
Okay, when are you hoping to have it done now?
The end of January, possibly. It really just depends on their surgery protocols, if you are recovering from COVID, and their schedule, of course.
Right.
And I'm sure there are other people like me who've had to cancel abruptly, and I'm hoping we can get in sooner. But it is a total hip replacement and will take just as much energy to recover from that as it did, and a little bit more. So
I think you'll be surprised how quickly you will come back from a hip replacement.
I hear that from other people. It's still downtime that's not studio time, and that's what I'm concerned about.
Totally not studio time.
Totally not studio time. So I'm trying to come up with some alternatives to keep going. Debating whether or not I should ask another weaver to help me to get through this initially. Probably won't do that, but I did think about it. I know some other weavers have. It might just be a stopgap solution to get some smaller projects finished that I've already got underway. So, but that's all right. That's what we're doing here.
I'm sorry to hear it, and that's a real drag. And
Actually, it's just a reminder to all of you not to take it too casually.
right.
It's still out there, and it can still bite us.
It's actually it's on a surge right now too.
I know
It
that.
is.
Hey,
Yeah.
yesterday, I was feeling really horrible, and luckily I have kids, so
Yes.
I took a test, and it came out negative. So it's just a respiratory infection. And I talked to Oscar yesterday afternoon. Oscar, I slept for 24 hours after I talked to you.
Well, that respiratory virus is almost as bad as the COVID. I mean, it's putting a lot of people in the hospital. So take care of yourself, Barry.
Yeah, no, I don't have it that bad. I mean, I just have a little, I don't know. It's hard to describe. I mean, you know what it feels like. I didn't eat for 24 hours. That was great.
Do you know how many people go test negative from the home tests
Mm-mm.
and then get
Right.
Yeah, there's a percentage. But I'm going to do another test. They send you 8, so, and I've taken 2, so I'll take another one.
Okay.
Well,
Take care
last week, Eric like suddenly had the chills, and but he didn't have a fever, and of course he took a test, and it turned out it was a kidney stone, which he gets about every 10 years. This is 2 years late, and so
Oh God.
Has anybody
So-
ever in this group had a kidney stone? It's not fun.
It's painful. No.
That's called
Well,
drinking water.
right. Luckily, he didn't have to go to the hospital. The past times I had to bring him to the hospital for morphine, but this wasn't as bad. And I had him drinking apple cider vinegar, which breaks them up, and pitchers of lemon water. So he's still, definitely drinking excess water this week too. But we both thought COVID, of course, right away. But then there was distinctly just no sore throat, no fever, and then he realized, oh, the pain kind of in the back on the side by the kidneys. And so
For me, it's dry here in my studio, so it could be that. There's a lot of different things that feel the same, especially when you
right.
get old.
When I teach, I get a sore throat from talking all day. And of course, then you think, oh no, am I getting, but I'm alone, on a computer. And I gargle with salt water, which does help. It's very soothing.
I haven't done that since I was a kid.
It really soothes the throat.
I haven't had to do
So,
it.
right. Well,
I want to make sure I'm ready for Bonnie's for the garage sale.
You better be healthy.
I'm going to be healthy. I know. This is great. I love you, Bonnie. You're hilarious. Yeah, I love it. It's fantastic.
Money,
Other people might be offended by
life
that.
over there.
What, Oscar?
He might not make it back to Michigan.
so Bonnie, wait, are you still there? Are you what are you going to do regarding, are masks going to be required, or what are you going to do regarding
No.
your?
I will be masked. I will be totally masked.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it will be
Yeah.
up in each individual.
Got it. Because I just taught a workshop in person, and it was online and in person, and we had to wear masks, and they also ahead of time asked people to send the up-to-date booster that they were boosted, and then the temperature was taken when they walk in the door, which
Yes.
made me feel more comfortable, honestly.
The temperature
Because-
really doesn't mean much.
I know. But they were up to date on their vaccines. A lot of people have, say, dry coughs and things like that. You hear someone coughing and it makes me nervous, but But they all had up-to-date boosters, and we wore masks, so that it was fine
Well-
wearing a mask all day.
If the state requires something, or if the facility requires something, then we'll do that.
Mhm.
But otherwise, I'm leaving it up to,
It's much more, it's very masky, I would say, in the Bay Area. And also the rates of COVID are fairly, when I was there, it was less than 6 out of, was it 1,000, I think, or is it 100? There's a number where the statistics become safer to be around, and they're below 6 out of, maybe it's 1,000. But everyone wears masks. More people wear masks. It's not mandatory. It's just part of the whole gestalt there,
Well, in this part of
I-
Michigan, you don't see a mask anywhere.
right?
Hmm.
Oh.
That I can see.
I wear them everywhere. Never without it, except in my own home.
Right. Plus, who wants to get sick anyway?
I have a niff going on. I don't need. And plus, everywhere I go is like something medical. So
Uh-huh.
they all wear them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And every time you go to the doctor here, I think you use the mask no matter what. They don't let you into the office without the mask.
Yeah. Good. That's good.
Once you reach a certain age, every time you leave the house, you go to a doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
Now I can relate to that.
Yeah, you've got a big deal coming up in a couple days.
Yeah, I'm getting my surgery on Thursday.
Oh, well, good luck with that, Larry.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Best
Yeah.
of luck.
Anything we can send you?
I can think of a couple of things, but no.
Who's
Nothing he can
taking?
say out loud.
Right. The problem is more, I'm going to be here by myself for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's more, the surgery itself doesn't bother me. But I signed up for Meals on Wheels today, and they come 3 times a week.
Really?
Okay. All right. Do you have like Uber Eats in your neighborhood?
I have my freezer and refrigerator is stocked up. I have enough food.
Okay.
Or what about the dog?
I have a friend that's taking him for 3 or 4 weeks,
Good.
Okay.
and he loves her, so it'll
Oh,
be like
good.
a vacation for him.
Mm-hmm.
Is that because you can't walk around?
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have in-home care through Medicare?
Now, they don't do it for an ankle surgery unless you pay out of pocket.
Hmm.
The surgery is considered too minor.
Hmm.
I called UPMC, my health provider. I called my doctor. They don't prescribe anything for ankles.
So are you mobile after the surgery
Only on a knee scooter.
on an e-scooter? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and actually I borrowed one and I'm buying another one that's coming tomorrow.
Hmm.
And I'll use whichever one is the most sturdy.
How about crutches?
I have a hard time on crutches because I have two rotator cuff surgeries.
Ah, that would do it.
So I find that on crutches, I can't support my body weight.
Hmm.
I'm a total klutz with crutches, so
I mean, my sister-in-law is going to have a hard time getting me in the house.
yeah.
You don't have a ramp or anything?
Now, but I do have a nice transport chair with big rear wheels that I could use in the house,
Yeah.
and 2 pair of crutches for whatever, and a walker. I mean, we have all this medical stuff from when my wife needed it. Yeah, one thing you learn at a certain age is never give anything away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they make some folding ramps for wheelchairs that are pretty, easy to put over steps. my aunt is in a wheelchair from polio and she travels with one all the time. There are some solutions for getting in the house.
Yeah,
So
but
it's easier.
it's only that one time, and then I don't need it for another 3 weeks. So.
How about
Okay.
our
And
chair,
And
You-
it's, yeah, I mean, I'll deal with it.
Larry, a shower chair?
Oh, we have the whole shower redone. There's a seat in the shower.
Okay,
Can't you
Yeah,
hop
that's-
around?
I
Like this?
guess.
want him doing that.
Yeah, you don't want him to fall though.
yeah,
but-
that's
Well,
It
that
is.
and then my other ankle will go.
Yeah, yeah. Once
great.
he gets
I don't
down,
mean
it's
to
hard
laugh.
get up. Yeah,
I don't mean
all right.
Actually,
So-
I
so what do
worry
we-
about that. You know, my other ankle having the same tendon tear.
So Larry, what do we need to send you? Just tell us.
Money.
Oh,
that.
No,
What?
you don't have to send me anything.
Well, I sent you a
say
client
money?
this week.
Yes, I know. That's another issue.
Yeah.
She's an ex-doctor, so she knows everything.
Right. But she is following your advice, by the way.
Yes, she did. She got back to me and she said she's hiring a local photographer and having him look at the images on my website.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't think she's going to have success with it. So I think she'll wind up coming to see you eventually.
Well, I mean, she lives on the other side of the country. She's not really coming to see me.
No, but she will be sending you work or something. I've been gently persuading her that it's worth the investment.
What was it, glass or what?
Yeah, she's a glass artist. I
Yeah,
don't even know what
I'd
the work looks
rather-
like.
I'd rather fix what the photographer does for her.
Okay. All
That's
right. Well, that
much
works
easier.
too.
Yeah, that's much easier than shipping.
All right.
What
All
do
right.
people think of having a white background?
It's
There aren't a lot of shows that really use the white background. The American Craft Council show, there was an advantage to that because they like to use the image for their
TV.
promotions. But
Craft
most
Boston,
part,
Craft Boston also, the craft fairs preferred it. Craft
yeah.
Boston, which I don't know if they're ever going to have a show again.
well, okay, they're
But
the
now
shows
that-
that use
now-
Jewelry Arts Services
Oh,
because
anyway.
they don't project the images.
You know, I was more referring to really good shows. You know, just sending the images with the clear back with the white background.
white is I just like on the tent walls, it just is too much white for the eye to take in.
I have to tell you, in the art jewelry world, white is the preferred background.
Yeah,
Well, I can
in the-
see
and-
that,
that's
Allison.
true.
Yeah.
In the art world, it's the same way. The
Yeah.
real art world, not the art.
And
fair world.
and it seems like the craft fairs, as opposed to the arts and crafts fairs. In other words, the shows that do not have 2D, they seem to prefer a white background. It doesn't
And-
mean everyone has to use a white background, but and publishers of course like a white background because then they could just make it whatever they want.
You know, I asked this because last year I looked at the images from Cherry Creek, and there were plenty of people that had white backgrounds that got in the show.
Interesting.
But
Yeah.
but if you look at Fort Worth or any of the other ones, no, there's not any. So
Yeah.
I have a white background. I've gotten into Fort Worth. I did it 2 years and it's not for me, but I use a white background. I did use a dark background one time, and the show promoter said that I was actually right, that the white background is better for my work. So
Mhm.
well, as a juror, the white background is so much easier to see the detail of what you're looking at because the dark background just darkens the whole thing. And I don't know if you all have ever used Larry Sanders as a photographer,
yeah,
but
I did
his
once.
are so dark.
Yeah, they are.
As a show director, I can never use his images for any publicity because they're so darn dark. And some of my friends use him and they're terrible. And I quit using him for various reasons, but I really like the white background.
But
As a
as far
show,
as,
I like it because I can use it.
Yeah,
For
the
public.
jewelry that I photograph, I always give the artist the option of having the white background also, because my background's on a separate layer and I can easily just make it white.
Yeah, that's the best way.
So the thing is, as far as like getting in or not getting into a show, it's after a certain point, once you skim off the stuff that's just clearly not good, it's a numbers game, you know? And so,
Yes.
I mean, you know, there's just so much you can do to a point. But then like, I think, Court has talked about some shows, they only want X amount of black and white photographers, right? So you might lose out if, you know, they pick other black and white photographers and not you. And but it's after the stuff that is just not good is skimmed out, it's to a degree luck of the draw. The jurors and there's just a lot of ambiguity with that as well, their tastes, right? And so to a point, there's only so much you can do. Of course, you know, it's always good to analyze, you know, why you didn't get in and all that. But I mean, with Smithsonian, they say there's 120 artists, you get your automatic entry for winning an award, and then the percentage each year of new people who get in is very low. So, I mean, they said it was like 30 or something. I don't remember where.
Yeah, I got
Pardon?
rejected this year. I
Yeah.
threw my hat in the ring, and you know, I didn't have high expectations, but I realized that they have a lot of returning artists, so the possibility getting in is harder. Yeah.
Yeah, and Karen, I got rejected as well, and it's, you know, it's not a personal.
Of course not.
It's like the odds are so, you know.
Steve.
I do have a friend who got in, and she's been like applying for 20 years, and you know, she said, well, why did I get in? Well, you know, for her work is great, okay, but for whatever reasons, it appealed to the jurors at that given time at that different place. So, you know.
Yeah, it just wasn't good timing for me, you know, as experienced as we are at applying to shows and getting accepted or rejected. It was still a setback, and it was kind of maybe it's part of the message I'm experiencing this year is that I might have to have a slight change of plan, at least for part of the year.
Hey, do you think if I changed my name to Cliff Lee that they would notice?
What's your middle name?
Mine?
Yeah.
Allen.
So why don't you apply under the name Barry Allen?
I've thought of that many times.
I tried that once.
Here's the thing about the Cliff Lee joke. He's their darling. He's been in every year since the beginning. So, you know, he's an automatic.
So did you apply?
No. There was a conflict, I think. I was doing something else. It's in.
I hadn't applied in some years, but you know.
It was indoors. You know, I have a nice indoor setup, and I'd have to buy carpeting. You know, you have to think about those things. I used to have, I did the ACC shows forever. Well, till about 10 years ago, or is it 15? You know, time flies. And I had a nice setup.
You got a Tosh, Barry.
So
Yes,
doesn't bother me.
Hey, I got another question about the business of art fairs. I happen to use QuickBooks Self-Employed for accounting. And a few weeks ago, I got this email from Intuit about needing to go through a PCI compliance, which is I have to go through a process and pay them to go through the process that my processing credit cards is secure. And I was a little agitated about that because I know that the credit card merchant companies I use are indeed PCI compliant, and I probably pay a fee in my processing that includes that. And I delved a little deeper into it, and QuickBooks is, this is what I did. QuickBooks Self-Employed has an invoicing program, a payable invoicing program. And I had used it 7 times this past year with customers. I don't even see the credit card. I send them the invoice, they pay it themselves on their end. I don't even see the card. But now it's going to cost me $85 a year to have PCI
Whoa.
compliance through QuickBooks.
It's
Yeah, but
it's a
what if-
scam.
Yeah,
It's
but
No,
baloney.
it's
No,
It's
no,
a
no.
money
actually, I brought that up with a couple different communities, thinking that it was indeed a scam coming from a third party. And
It's not a
I
scam
really,
meaning a scam. It's just it's their way of nickel and diming you for $85,
Yeah, but
which
that-
you don't need to do.
yeah,
but
well,
doesn't
so,
that PCI compliance only if you're keeping the numbers on the computer?
no, it's if you use if you process any card through QuickBooks.
Tell them that you're not going to process any cards.
Well, this coming year, that's exactly what we're going to do. I will not use the invoicing program.
Right.
But in the meantime, I
Oh,
will
now
have
that's
to-
different.
Yeah, it's a moot point. So I didn't know about it before, thought it was a really cool feature. And so I'm just letting you know that there's a cost to it. We normally see that cost in our processing fees through credit card merchants. We don't even see them, it's part of the percentage. But QuickBooks, I pay a monthly fee for the subscription. And I'm not going to be using that feature next year. So
I used to have to do PCI compliance when I had my merchant account. It was like through
Me too.
Costco.
mhm.
But
It's not
Square
a bad
doesn't-
thing to go through, but I just objected to finding about it kind of at the end of the year.
You're not being protected from anything. They're just taking money. And if you get scammed, you think, oh well, they're protecting you from that. They'll still charge you. No, they don't do. It doesn't do anything. I dumped them years ago. I dumped merchant services years ago because they did that. I have the Square. I don't care about anything else. They're
Well, when I count on my
Square?
fingers how many different processors I use,
yeah.
I use Square, I use North American Bank Card, which is pay anywhere. I use PayPal, I use Venmo, we've used Striped when we did the online virtual shows. So you start looking at it and there's quite a few processors.
What?
But
Why would
it
you use
was,
more than one?
there are good reasons why I do. Because sometimes the service goes down.
You know what? For me, it's all about security, and the more you use, the more you open to being hacked and being your information stolen. I use as little as possible. I use one thing. That's the Square, and I will not use the subscription-based invoicing or like I won't use QuickBooks because of that. You can use it. You can, because in the old days they didn't have that. You just bought the program and you used it.
Yep. And I used to use the full QuickBooks desktop program. I learned on it. And
Yeah.
that was, it was a lot to tackle, but then they made it into a mobile app, which was also pretty great because that meant I could do my books when I was out on the road. So that wasn't a bad thing. I was all for that, but I did get kind of taken by surprise by this additional cost.
Karen,
Karen,
which
The one thing
which
about
quick
Square is that you are PCI compliant
I know
through
that.
Square. Okay.
Yeah, I know that. Actually, each of those companies I listed are PCI compliant. Yeah,
So
so
you don't
that's
need it.
fine.
That means
Yeah.
you're paying twice. Because if a certain percentage of that what they take is part of the PCI compliance, you're paying that, and then you're paying an extra 85.
I'm only
Oh,
paying
thank you.
for the transactions where I sent a payable invoice. This is what the $85 is for. So I'm just going to stop using the invoice feature.
Yeah.
I was thinking this today that we're getting squeezed even more.
Yeah.
Shows are squeezing us even more. I mean,
Yeah.
$900, $950 for a booth fee, and
Mhm.
like, okay, so it went from $300 to $350 to $400 to $450. Now, the average is $5.50.
It used to be $17.50 according to Duke. What are you complaining about?
because it should be half.
Come on.
No, we're paying for
Seriously, I need to ask you, wait.
Yeah.
Let me ask something to Karen. Karen, which QuickBooks you use? Because I used to use the desktop, and they kind of force you to go to the online service this year.
I used the
because,
self-employed. I use self-employed.
I think I got the one that costs $50 a month to use.
I
which
think
is
mine is $15 a month.
okay.
And it
I know
records your
Ron,
mileage and all sorts of things and helps you sort through all of your transactions for tax
So-
purposes.
I think that the one that I have is a little more advanced. It's the one that I was recommended to use because of the reports and everything else. Because I do my taxes myself, but I don't got. You said that if you run the credit card through QuickBooks, they don't have PCI compliance.
No, listen, okay. QuickBooks self-employed app that I use, which is a small mobile app of a big program, has an
Yeah.
invoicing feature. And this is where I have to verify that I am PCI compliant.
Okay.
And
Yeah, and
Because
so, the invoice feature was absolutely wonderful in that I sent them an official looking invoice, which they could pay on their end. I'm talking about the client. And the
Mhm.
money would get directly deposited into my account. I would not even see the credit card at all.
okay, I'm naive. Why do you actually need that? Because if somebody buys something remotely or whatever that they're paying later, you don't send them the item till you get the money. So why do you?
Sometimes it's
Because-
an additional shipping fee. Sometimes they need the invoice for their end, for their businesses.
Excuse me,
Um,
I send invoices all the time for custom orders because I get 50% down. Karen, you
Yeah.
probably do that too. And I do it through Square. But
through Square.
there is a need to send invoices in general,
Well, that's what I
if
mean.
you need. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or for services that I might provide, I might want to send an invoice, not just have to generate a bill.
Karen, did you
And-
say you also use PayPal?
Yes.
So
And
what makes you decide to send an invoice through one system versus the other?
One was integrated with my accounting program.
But if you didn't have to pay those fees using, say, PayPal or Square, wouldn't you still be able to deposit the money from PayPal into your account as easily? Why would you need?
It wasn't about where the money went or how the card was looked at or handled. It was just about the needing to send an invoice. Sometimes it's for the balance on a custom project. Sometimes it's for an additional shipping fee
But if
because
you
they
could do it through one of these other softwares like the Square, the PayPal,
obviously I'm going to turn to that.
or
Mhm.
if you have Microsoft Word, which everybody has, make your own invoice and fill out the form and send it to them manually.
Well, that takes time, Barry.
No,
They
that's
all take time.
it's no, and it's not secure. You can't have your customers emailing you their credit card number.
No, I don't. We don't.
you
do that.
can.
I don't
Do you
do that.
know the other thing you can do, Karen, in the future, you're doing QuickBooks, which I do for my customers, is that I tell them what they pay me through they give me the card over the phone, I run it to Square, and then instead of sending an invoice, I send them a sale receipt. I don't know if you got the option in yourself. I know that because mine is a little more up than yours, it has it, but I can send invoices, I can sell self receive, and I can keep track of everything. Actually, my phone keeps the mileage, but I don't do anything in the phone. The phone is the app in there is running for the mileage, but everything else, when I open the phone, transfer everything to the desktop version.
But
Mhm.
Oscar, don't your people often want to see what the total amount is and the breakdown of the cost before they give you a credit card number, which is where the invoice comes in handy, is they can see that before they pay it.
Well, my customers usually know that. I break it down to them all the time, before we commit. I let them know what the cost of the item is, cost of the shipping, cost of the insurance. I can calculate all that. And having a store on my website, there's that feature is actually built into the total. It calculates it automatically before they use their credit card to pay. So I use Wix website, and that too is PCI compliant. This was all about that billable invoice that I used through QuickBooks.
It's good to, I'm glad that you said that, because I was just curious about that, because I use QuickBooks for the last 20 years. And I just, this is the first time I switched to the online version, which is it's ridiculous expensive.
How much do you
But
pay a month for your QuickBooks program, Oscar?
55 with the taxes included.
Okay, so you do have a bigger program than I do. I have the smaller program.
Yeah, I was looking because I don't keep this one. This about this one, they allow you to do track inventory, but talking to Shauna, she told me you don't need that. Just do no inventory, because you do your inventory manually anyhow. You know what you need to go or not. So I just went one down. But so one I want this about this one is $80 a month, but that's for like a front store. I don't.
Right.
This is the one that I want to go higher than this.
Yeah.
But self-employed, the one you were saying, there was a lot of things that I couldn't do.
I agree.
The report, so I know how much money I'm making. Like right now, I got open my dashboard. I know how much I made the year, how much I spent, the expenses the year.
Actually, my program shows that as well, even though it's the smaller program, and I can still turn over all these records from that program to my accountant, because I hire an accountant, and he loves it. Yeah.
The other thing that my accountant likes about this one, that now he can just log into my program and he see the same information that I enter.
Yeah,
so
I really prefer using the full desktop program once I learned it, and it was a big learning curve. But you could go back and you could reconcile your records, and I can't do that with these smaller programs. I don't get to see the back end of QuickBooks at all.
Yeah, and the other thing I need to figure out, I need to call them, is to adjust my bank balance, which is, I know it's not what it says in there. So I wish it was that.
Enough of the business of art fairs.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Hey, this is important, just as important as making art.
Yeah. Frank, you're going to jump into something. You do this.
Well, I had a question for Karen, because I've been using QuickBooks on the desktop for a long time, and I've looked at the online stuff, not because I need it, but because I thought clients might. But I never studied it carefully. So, are you saying the app does not integrate with the desktop version? That they don't share data?
Oh no, it does. I mean, if my accountant can open it up, and he gets into the full program and can look at everything.
Okay.
But I can't do it like I used to be able to. And I wasn't willing to pay the annual subscription fee for the full desktop of QuickBooks. It was way too much money for me.
I understand. Yeah. They the first version of QuickBooks I bought was $50.
Yes.
A long time ago. It just gets more expensive every year.
It really does. And
they don't improve it. They improve it, but not in proportion to
it's not enough to,
they made it mobile, which is amazing. And I knew that they worked hard to do that. But now I think, like somebody else said, they're nickel and diming us about some of the features.
Yeah, no, I mean, doing a mobile program for a monthly fee, I don't think is inappropriate, but it's just the relative cost.
It was that additional $85 that I didn't know about. That this time I was giving them grief, and I really told them. I said, I really object to getting an email from Intuit about needing to do something, act now, on the official email, and giving me a deadline to December 31st. And I'm saying, I just don't like this pressure. This is too much like a scam. You don't give me any logical reason why I'm required to do this. You haven't spelled it out. You need to do a better PR program why they're doing this.
What is the consequence of you not paying? Do they cancel the whole subscription?
I would be out of compliance with what they call PCI compliance and could be fined up to $5,000 to $50,000.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but that's
They,
how
they
they
could
do it.
get a class action lawsuit over that.
Stop
Okay.
using QuickBooks.
Well, I want the accounting, Larry. I really do. I don't want to do it another way. I have to do the money in, money out accounting part.
I mean, that is aside, I mean, big corporations, people make decisions without thinking of all the ramifications. And so somebody in the accounting department said, oh, we can make some money over here.
Mhm.
And they had enough clout to get it through the system, and the marketing people were overridden. But
I would have been more
so
willing.
stupid.
I would have been more willing to have the payable invoice feature on the QuickBooks program and know that every time I used it, I would be charged an additional fee, the biggest small fee.
Right.
And just kind of upfront know that there was a cost to using it. But my objection is I didn't find out until 2 weeks ago.
Well, I mean, but actually the PCI compliance is in the coding, right? So they have to be PCI compliant. You shouldn't have to be.
Okay, well, it's a good point, Frank. I don't know how to handle it, except I need to go through the compliance test, pay the $85 this year, and then just not get stuck there next year.
Well, no, I think that's the rational thing to do, but.
Well, I think it was something Barry brought up. Is not any concern that the more you use mobile apps and the more you use online services, that you're opening yourself up somewhere down the road to being hacked when those systems get hacked?
Ron, if you have good practices, which is what the PCI compliance is all about.
No, not your practices, but all these companies.
You need to have good practices, and I think.
But
I can answer that question for you.
Let me talk about that. That talks about having 2-point authentication to get into a program. It's about using a closed network, not a public Wi-Fi for processing cards. Any of those things is not writing down the number and not destroying it, right away.
But I'm talking about on the news or the letters that, like, I've gotten 2 of them this last year from major companies that were hacked. Major companies that were hacked.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
That's a different subject, Ron, and I know a tiny bit about it because my son works in the security field of technology. I hear about it.
Any company, if you use only one company, you're at risk. If you use 10 companies, you're at risk. You aren't capable of evaluating the security practices of any of those companies. Right. So some are safer than others, but you have no way to know which are which. And for that matter, remember that the United States government was hacked not that many years ago, where they actually hacked the security clearance database. So, And you know what? I'm hoping that was a fake. I'm hoping that they pretended and they announced it so that the people who hacked it would think they had real data. But I fear not. I fear that it was a legitimate hack. Yeah. So if you could be sure that you had the most secure processor and used only that one, that would be the safest thing to do. But you have no way to know.
But the more that you use,
if they're hacked, they don't tell you anything.
But if you follow the industry requirements, which is you don't use the little swipe thing on your phone with the phone jack, you use only the chip reader. That's the other issue.
But I'm not talking about us being hacked individually for how we use our personal systems. I'm talking about these companies we belong to being hacked. And the more that you extend outwards to different companies online, are we not opening up ourselves to a greater likelihood that one of those companies will get hacked and our personal information at that point become violated?
You're basically saying that there's a degree of it that is out of our hands.
Of course it is. It's like, me being vaccinated and careful all year and having the virus walk on my door. It's just, it's going to happen at some time.
But that's
You
what
know,
you're
there-
raising. Go
The
ahead.
the other thing I did from my small business is through ACT Insurance. I did purchase the insurance for electronic processing. And you know, it was just make me feel more comfortable that if something did in fact happen and was compromised, I actually have some kind of insurance plan in place.
But I'm going to tell you one thing to all you guys before you keep going with this crazy thing. You guys are forgetting one little detail.
What?
You take the payment according to what your customer wants to pay you. The credit card, they use PayPal, they use Venmo. It's not your choice. You're supposed to take whatever is easier for your customer. Know what is best for you.
No, I would disagree with that. I don't,
No,
because you don't go to any business store, any business
some are both.
online and say, I want to pay with this. That's the only way I'm going
because
to pay.
because they already set up for everything, Ron. They can take Apple Pay. You can pay with your phone. You can pay with your credit card. You can pay with a check. And the check actually now they scan the check, they return the check to you because they take the money on the spot at that time.
Yeah.
It's already set up. That can tell you personal experiences. When I'm doing the installations, I rarely get paid with a credit card. I get paid Zelle, Venmo, cash, personal checks. Those are the four things that I get. When I go to those shows, I only get credit cards and cash. And once in a while, people asking me if I take Venmo. And now I'm going to have to subscribe to the Venmo business section because if I'm doing the art shows, I need to make sure that I'm in the PCI compliance section. Because if not, if you the person want to pay you with a credit card or the scanning, you screw.
But have you ever had an instance where you didn't take Venmo because you weren't set up to, and they didn't have a way to pay you with a credit card? Have you?
Well, there's
You know
Apple Pay.
what? Yes, because I got customers and when doing the installations, they tell me I don't want to use my credit card. I want to pay you with Venmo, and that's the easiest way for me to do it. You know what?
Listen, the easiest way is Zelle.
Well, with Venmo,
No,
it's coming right
no.
out of their bank account, not on their credit card.
Then you have to sell. They have to sit down in there, enter your contact information, your phone number, and then add you to the billing system. And then they have to ask you then takes a code number that you have to give them so they can set up so they can send you the payment. And Venmo, you go and scan your QR, the money's there 2 minutes later. Yes, you have to transfer the money, but it's a lot easier to do Venmo than actually sell.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just how things are right now. It's going to keep changing. And none of them are safe. If you really want to know the truth, all of them you're going to run a risk. I
like Zelle until I found out that even they got hacked. And Zelle is just phone number. You know,
Just
you send the money to somebody's phone number, goes right into their bank account.
Mm-hmm.
And every bank uses Zelle. Every bank in the country uses Zelle.
Everybody does it, but
there is some measure of risk
for everything
but cash. And there's a measure of risk for cash because you can be robbed. So, you know, but there's some measure of risk. Plus, you can do everything right and your bank can be hacked.
Plus, they have these hacker conferences once a year, and they set up something and they give an award or they give a prize to the person that hacks the unhackable thing first, and they all hack it within 8 or 9 minutes. Nothing's secure. These guys know what they're doing. And the other thing is you have China and North Korea and Russia that pay, you know, they have a division that pays these guys to learn it and to do the hacking and to figure out what to do. You know, you almost can't fight that.
Right. But if your bank or if your credit card company or PayPal or Square gets hacked, you're not out the money. They take responsibility for it, right? It's not well, we got hacked. You're going to lose all the money that people hack from you.
It is the other good reason why they want us to change passwords frequently. You know, we can do that. It's a pain, But
See,
there
I
were
never
small
thought that
things-
mattered because your password is your password. They can easily find out the new password than the old password. If you don't use the same password, if you use a different password for everything, how are they going to know?
But see, what kills me is when you use it on the computer and you set up an account, you often set it up to autofill. So there is no typing in your.
Oh,
your
I never
account.
do that.
If
Never
they
do
have,
that.
if they have software, if you get malware on your computer that keeps track of your keystrokes, then they'll, if you change your password, they're going to find out what your new password is.
Okay.
Well,
We know the
So,
risks.
Ron,
Yeah.
as you said, you've just explained there is no security. There is some level of security, but it's imperfect no matter what, because if your personal computer is hacked, then all your passwords are going to be available.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my initial statement that don't have a big footprint. Use as few things as possible. That's my rationale for doing that.
Well, I don't think that works, but there's the rationale for keeping the footprint small is simply it's less confusing, there's less accounting. But I don't think that your risk multiplies that much by using multiple vendors.
Why? Because you don't know, as you said though, Frank, you don't know what their security levels are on each of those companies. Just statistically, there's a chance that some of those are going to have lower than the others. So the more,
but since you don't know which one's which, you might, the one you choose as, I'm going to keep my footprint small and I'm going to choose one could be the most vulnerable. You have no way to know.
Well, has Square ever been hacked? I don't think so.
It's never been publicized that I know of, but
I have had Square went down last summer and none of the vendors or artists were able to process anything. We were all kind of confused. I was very grateful I had a backup company.
But that's not hacking. That's not stealing your stuff.
We don't know
that's
why
not
it went
hacking.
down. I just needed to continue doing business. So that's why I have more than one option for payment.
It was only one day.
but that could be your best
could
day of
be a
your
big
year.
day.
Yeah, that's right. And it was at a show, but
And it was at a good show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
of course.
Hey,
Frank,
does any-
I got
does
a
any-
question for Frank. Sorry. So I get this report from Google every month. Can you explain me what this means? 67 clicks web, 16,300 impressions, and 7 pages with first impressions. What the hell is that?
Well, impressions are how many links you have on the page.
No,
When they say how many hits, each hit goes to a page that has so many links, right, Frank?
when
Now-
Google is telling you this, what they're saying is that people have used Google to look at your website.
Right.
An impression means somebody has, but if they're on your, I'm not sure how Google does this exactly, but this language comes out of magazines, right? That the magazine used to sell the advertising based on impressions. So we have 1 million subscriptions and then we sell this many copies. And so we're assuming that everybody who buys the magazine sees every ad in the magazine. You've had this many impressions. This is what you're paying for. With Google, the original thing was you pay by the click. If somebody clicks on you, you pay them. If they don't click, you don't pay. They've added the impression thing. So there's lots more impressions than there are clicks. So they're charging you for impressions as well as for clicks.
well, what is an impression?
An impression is somebody has gone to your website. Somebody used Google and did a search and your website came up and they clicked on it and they went to the page they clicked on. That's an impression.
So basically,
Excuse me, if somebody goes through Google to your website, when you looked at the analytics on your website, would that be under, like there's references from say Instagram or Facebook or whatever, would that, or direct? So would Google show up in those analytics as well?
Well, if somebody came through Google, I would assume that they would show up in Google Analytics. when I was looking at security software on the website, the statistics on the websites I was hosting where I was not using Google Analytics, I would know how many visits people came through from Google or from Bing, or other search engines, and for that matter, there were a significant amount of traffic that weren't people coming through Google, but just Google itself reading your pages.
Oh.
I mean, because Google reads your pages. Otherwise, it has to do this about once a month to be able to give up-to-date references when people are searching. So, but the impressions, I mean, I'm assuming, Oscar, that you're talking about Google Ads, and this is impression data, or is this Google Analytics impression data?
The thing is, I get an email every month telling me, let me find it and I'll tell you. Google Search Console and Google Analytics. And Google Analytics told me that the performance metrics is 255 users, 311 sessions, a bounce rate of 1.2. Each session lasts about a minute and 11 seconds.
Okay.
And then Google Search Console also sent me the one that says you got 16,300 impressions. From those impressions, 67 people clicked the website. And then you have people that went seven pages of those got first time hits. And that's for the month.
Okay, well, then I'm wrong. Then that would indicate that the impression was that they did a search and your name came up on the first page, or if they clicked to the second page, that they saw a link to your website while they're doing a search. That's how I would interpret that. But I've never seen that before.
Okay, and they actually don't. That's the report that I get from the website every month.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Most
Well,
of the
the
time,
things that matter are if people have come to the website, if people have spent time on the website, and of course, if people have, do you have online sales on the website?
Yeah.
Oscar? So that of course is the most important one. If people buy, that's great. If they come and they look and they don't buy, then well, it's nice to know that they came and looked. But
basically I get 1 or 2 sales a month, but most of the stuff comes for the installations.
Well, how do they find out about your installations? Is that from the art shows?
No, that's totally different. It's lately it's been Google. Like the customer that I have in Sunday was Google search. I got Thumbtack. This is owned by Google. I advertise in there. And then I have word of mouth, referrals, and galleries and friend shop refer me.
Right. So Google won't know about the word of mouth or the galleries. Google only knows that somebody clicked on a link that you paid to have that link available.
Yeah. So, but it's working out fine. I cannot complain. I get a lot of calls and people asking about the installations, which is great. I don't
From what you guys are saying, does impressions really mean that much as opposed to click-throughs?
Impressions are worth very little compared to click-throughs.
Yeah, impression is like how many people, from what I understand, and that's what I was asking, it's like impression is how many people saw your website or came out when you're doing a search.
Right.
So, and then how many
when I first saw that in the Google Ad Console as something they were charging for, I was horrified. Because it used to be really clean. You paid if somebody clicked, you didn't pay if they didn't click. There were scams because people would actually pay people to click on on competitors' links. But basically you were paying for value. Somebody you paid to get somebody to your website where hopefully they'll buy something, not necessarily, in most cases not, but you're paying for something of value, which is somebody coming to your website. But an impression is worthless.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's why I don't use Yelp, because Yelp, you will have competitors clicking your link and you're paying for them, and job gets really expensive. That's what I drop them really fast. So, but that's the other side of not the art shows thing. I was going to ask you something a long time ago when we started about an hour ago.
Hey, I got a question. Is anybody using WinZip
What for?
to zip or unzip files? When
No,
you
no, I know what it is, but it comes, but you'll get a unzipping program with with your operating system. So there's no reason to use WinZip.
Okay, no, I was just curious.
And if I send files by WeTransfer, they come zipped, but all you do is click on it, it unzips it. So I don't
Right.
think, yeah.
Now, I've been using WinZip, and my computer tech told me there's a vulnerability and I needed to upgrade to the latest version. But the latest version is now $55 a year.
What?
So I deleted it off both my
Yeah,
computers.
of course.
Mhm.
You need to.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you've got, I mean, zipping is built into Microsoft Windows and it's built into Apple. So
There's a free program that's just as good. It's called 7-Zip.
That's
Okay.
that's what you get with your Microsoft operating system.
What?
It's right on you get it. It comes on your operating
Oh,
system.
yeah, well, it never did before.
Yeah, it always did. I stopped using WinZip 10 years ago, and I use 7-Zip because it's always been
7-Zip, right.
always been there. It's free.
Yeah.
You got PC guys, I'm telling you. PC guys.
Macintosh has something equivalent built into, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's called Google Email. You zip it in there and it goes through there. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff.
These days, I don't worry about zipping things. I put things into Google Drive, and then I create a separate folder in Google Drive. I put it in there, and I then say share this with this email address, and somebody gets the email address, and they can get in.
Actually,
that's the best way
not
to do
true.
it.
That that drives me crazy because it requires signing into Google.
Okay. So
There's-
I won't do
And
that.
there's,
I hate to do that.
Drives me crazy.
I hate
There's
it.
Dropbox.
Dropbox I use all the time to share files.
Yeah.
I'm forced to use Google Drive because other organizations use it, but I really hate it. It's not at all intuitive.
I
I
agree.
mean, yeah, you have to go looking all around for the link to actually download the full-size image. It's a pain in the ass.
It is.
Okay, Larry, I won't subject you to it.
You know what? You can send an email
with the program. It has to get with the program. Move to Google, to the biggest company. Stop using the little guys.
Well, actually, Apple is bigger than Google.
Yeah,
I
and actually,
know,
that's
but-
what they say about photographers, Oscar.
I know. I'm telling you, it's depressing.
Guys, I'll see you next week. Take care.
Take
Bye,
care.
Take care,
Yeah,
friend.
friend.
And we wish
Good
you
to
well,
see you,
Larry.
Bonnie.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Larry, good luck with your surgery.
Yes,
Mhm.
thank
Yes,
you.
good luck with your surgery,
Yes.
Larry.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be thinking of you.
And
That's-
Karen, I
that's-
hope you feel better soon.
You'll
Yeah, me
see
too.
me on Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Bye, Bonnie. Oh, you
Bye-bye.
left already.
Mhm.
All right, bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank
Take it
you.
easy. Bye.
Bye, Barry.
Bye. I just wanted to see who would be the last one to get up.
Okay. Bye.